Hello everybody, this is Sally Self. Today we're going to be discussing professional teaching standards. So the objectives of this presentation, I want you to be able to identify common themes in both the in-task and the SPA content, understand the importance of collaboration as well as data-driven decision making, and to be able to identify teaching expectations in the teaching profession. So for this, we're going to be utilizing two different sources. One is the in-task, and the in-task standards are just the basic standards of what every teacher should know and do to ensure that every kindergarten through 12th grade student is prepared for college and or entering the workforce after graduation. The purpose of in-task standards is to establish an ideal classroom with effective learning and instruction in place. So the second source I'm going to be utilizing today is the SPA, and the SPA that I chose is National Science Teaching Association Standards, and I selected this because I do want to become a science teacher in a secondary classroom once I get my teaching certifications. The missions of this SPA is to educate educators in the scientific field to compose their classroom in a safe way, which optimizes a learner's scientific knowledge. So, like I said, we are going to be discussing two themes today. Theme 1 is going to be individual differences. The in-task states that in standards 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8, the teacher will create plans to engage all students in the learning environment by applying the lessons to all types of learners. Teachers are going to adopt instruction to meet the diverse learning needs within the classroom to be as inclusive as possible. The SPA states in standards 2, 3, and 5 that educators are going to establish a lesson which allows all students to express their knowledge on the subject matter using various researching techniques, and teachers are going to utilize the appropriate scientific practices to meet the needs of each student. So why do these things matter? Well, acknowledging the individual differences allow educators to implement various methods of instruction in their classroom. Kubat says that a plan based on learning style and speed leads to a more efficient learning environment. For the values, teachers value diversity within the classroom, so being able to implement different types of learning strategies will overall improve the educational outcome of the whole class. Individual differences fall under the same category as diversity in the manner that every student is unique. No students are going to learn the same. As a matter of fact, I am a kinesthetic learner, so I have to be hands-on more than I can be audio or visual. For the skills, to adapt to the individual differences within a class, teachers are going to have to implement various educational tactics to reach every student. An introduction of different teaching techniques paves a path to achieve more gains than utilizing a single method of teaching could ever allow. And once again, that is from Kubat. So basically, it's saying that you have to implement different strategies to increase the overall educational outcome for the class as a whole. The second theme we're going to be discussing is critical thinking and problem solving. The in-task states that in standards 4, 5, and 8, educators are to develop lessons which engage students in critical thinking processes to enhance the overall learning outcome. And through this, educators provoke critical thinking and problem solving through discussions. The SPA states that in standard 2, educators are going to develop lessons in which learners are to assess and test possible solutions to a problem. Through instruction and assessment, teachers can guide students in critical thinking problem-solving discussions to resolve any misconceptions they may have prior to an assessment that, can impact their grades. Why does this matter? Teachers are already very knowledgeable about subject matter, therefore they can pose thought-provoking questions to enhance a student's learning. And through these discussions, questions, and providing ambiguity within the class, teachers can guide critical thinking practices in students, and that comes from the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. So one of the many values of educators is to have high expectations for a student education. No teacher wants to see a student fail or, drop out because they can't make the grades. They just don't think they're good enough in school. So teaching critical thinking and problem solving allows students to dive deeper into the subject matter and to develop a deeper understanding of the content being presented to them. As educators obtain their credentials to teach, they're taught the skill of critical thinking as well as problem solving. Now, this doesn't happen once they're in the collegiate level classes. This actually happens whenever they're young. So think back to when you were in kindergarten. Your teachers would constantly ask you thought-provoking questions to get you to understand a little bit more, and then you'd start asking things like, why? Why does this matter? What's the importance behind it? Things like that. So honestly, it started at a very young age. The University of Tennessee Chattanooga states that people must be able to think critically to make sound decisions. And this does apply also to life. So you have to be able to think critically whenever you're doing anything in life, like making electoral decisions, making decisions on how you're going to eat today, or, honestly, anything like that. Financial decisions can take a big impact if you don't think critically about the consequences that could be potential. In collaboration, the NTASC discusses this in Standard 10, where the SPA discusses this in Standard 3. The NTASC says that through collaboration, a teacher will be able to support the educational development of students as well as improve the learning environment as needed. And through collaborating with school administration, educators are able to become involved in leadership as well as working toward the goal of advancing the profession overall. The SPA states that educators create a plan to have students actively engage with one another on the basis of scientific research. And through collaboration, educators can create a community within the classroom regardless of the individual differences. And that is also another value that teachers have. They want to see their students getting along and interacting with each other instead of just kind of staying off by themselves. For data-driven decision making, the NTASC states that in Standard 6, the decision making comes through various means of assessment in the student and the educator's growth. And through these assessments, teachers can document learning as well as implement any new instructional changes to allow for the proper education of students. The SPA states that in Standard 2, effective educators are going to implement strategies to support instructional decision making. And through aligning instruction and assessment strategies, this can identify and address student misunderstandings, prior knowledge, and any naive conceptions they may have so that teachers can clear up the water, clear up any misunderstandings, and overall impact the learning outcome of the class. The NTASC specifically states professional expectations. Through improving the practice, this is outlined in Standard Number 9, the teachers will be able to utilize assessment, feedback, and reflection to improve their overall teaching practice. And in utilizing such resources, educators are able to adapt to the lesson plans to benefit the students. To advance the profession, which is outlined in Standard Number 10, continuing education and collaboration can allow teachers to establish leadership to assist with advancing the profession. Educators are going to grow and develop independently as well as collaboratively to impact the overall student learning outcome. And just to reflect on what we've covered today, it is important for teachers to acknowledge students' individual differences so that they can provide the best learning outcome within the class. Critical thinking and problem solving is going to be a required skill to make the most informed decisions in life. This does not just apply to an educational background, it also applies to many decisions you could ever make in life. Collaboration is strongly encouraged as it establishes community within the learning environment. Once again, if you talk to your neighbors, you're also establishing community within life, not just education. Data-driven decision-making is imperative to assess the effectiveness of various teaching methods. So you can see that, yes, most of my students learned best from doing the outlines, or no, most of my students cannot handle audio visual. They have to be hands-on. Educators are held to high standards which advance and improve the profession as a whole, which is true. Educators have to be professional, they have to be understanding, and a whole bunch of other things so that they can provide the best learning environment to their students. These are the references that I used, and I do want to say thank you for watching.